Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Let me try to adjust that. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, how are you guys? Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you may be. So let's get started. All right, okay, I guess this would kind of fall into, I guess, like a story time thing. But I feel like most of mine kind of turn into that, so whatever, we'll go with it. Okay. So, I don't know that I've talked a ton on YouTube about it, but I mentioned it on Instagram, especially on, I have a few accounts on Instagram because one's a joint business with my husband, and I mentioned it there definitely. But I've mentioned a lot that I have to have a hysterectomy this year. Really, I needed to have it last year, but since we live in America, and there's insurance to deal with and paid time off to make sure that you have, we just couldn't make it happen. For those who don't know, I have adenomyosis, which is like endometriosis's bastard cousin. So the tissue with endometriosis, the lining of your uterus migrates. It is outside of your uterus and growing wherever. It can cause adhesions on your bowels. It can fuck shit up, wrecks up shop. It's not good. Now the problem with endometriosis really is that you can't really see it very well. You can't diagnose it without surgery. There's a strong possibility due to family history that I also have endometriosis, and that's something we'll just deal with, when they're already in there, because there's a high risk of that. But when she diagnosed me with adenomyosis, she was like, well, that's there and that's a problem. And that was enough to kind of start pursuing hysterectomy. So with adenomyosis, instead of the tissue growing outside of your uterus, it actually grows into the uterine wall. And so it causes your uterus to become enlarged, and it is very painful. And I will have times where it doesn't hurt as bad as some months are worse than others. Some months it really flares up. My uterus is pretty enlarged at this point though, so it's quite, it can be quite uncomfortable. But when it's really, when things aren't good, they're really not good. It hurts quite a bit. So, I know that if it's not advanced, there are options. And, I had to have several ultrasounds to get this diagnosed. It took a while. I actually got really late. I went in when I was hurting, not when I wasn't hurting. I called and they managed to get me in really quickly so that they could do an ultrasound when I was hurting to see if they could see anything different. And she had a few potential diagnoses in mind, what she was looking for. She found adenomyosis or evidence of adenomyosis. There are options to treat it. If I didn't want a hysterectomy, there are things they could try to do, especially to try to preserve my fertility. But my husband had a vasectomy years ago and had it revised years ago to get it to working again, so that I would not be pregnant ever again. I was pregnant, you know, and he had to have it resolved because I did get, you know, and so one of those pregnancies resulted in a live birth of our now almost 4.5-year-old. Everything else was a miscarriage. My body really, and that's the thing, you know, people kind of will be like, well, you know, at least you can get pregnant. I'm like, I don't want to get pregnant if I'm not going to get to keep it. But, and so we had kind of decided anyway, you know, I always pictured us having at least 5 kids. And of course they were going to be brilliant, and it was going to be great. I was going to homeschool them all, and everything was going to be fabulous. Right, okay. My last 2 pregnancies were high risk, which is not fun, especially when you have like no real help as far as childcare goes. You don't have that village and you're homeschooling or whatever, and so no one wants to help you. And so you're having to find people to kind of, you know, you're basically at like the mercy, like hoping that you get a really nice nurse or radiology tech or a phlebotomist or someone who's going to kind of cover and let you bring all of your kids, because you know, they're not supposed to allow children under a certain age into these rooms with you, like when you're talking to, you know, when you're having like level 2 ultrasounds or genetic counseling or things like that. There's no one to watch your kids, and your husband's offshore and you're doing this all on your own, and it gets very stressful, but especially when you're sitting there wondering, you know, trying to push doctors to do all this testing super early so that you can beat, you know, a termination timeline in your state, just in case something is gravely wrong. And, you know, going through that even, and that's the thing, it's not that I particularly loved being pregnant at that point, because it was very hard on my body. And I know at this point, I'm sure my doctors would be like, "Are you stupid? You can't carry a baby." It's not that I necessarily want to be pregnant again, but I don't feel done having children, and it's very hard when you feel like at this point now it's so you know, knowing how kind of dangerous, especially now that a pregnancy would be, I was like, fine, I'll have a hysterectomy and see if that works, see if it helps, see what you see while you're in there. And so even though I'm making the choice to have the hysterectomy, it just still feels like, but and I know that I don't want to go through another high-risk pregnancy, and definitely not with the risks what they are now. Pregnancy with adenomyosis is very, very risky. And I know that, you know, but still it's like, you know, it's like now there's no choice. I have no choice whether to have another baby in that capacity or not. And so, you know, I started thinking about my options, you know. I mean, I know, and part of the reason I wanted to do that again was, it was really silly. You know, just as much as I complained about breastfeeding, it's like, well, I'd want to have, you know, if I have more kids, I want to have my own, because I want to nurse them, because I can't do, you know, induced lactation because of the hormones. I can't, that's not an option for me. And due to PCOS and thyroid disease, I I mean, I nursed 2 kids for like 2.5 years each. The minute, you know, my 3rd kid stopped because I dried up because I was pregnant. And the youngest one self-weaned because obviously I wasn't pregnant. Because, you know, my body doesn't work that way. So, and I didn't give much thought about it until our freezer went out. And I've been looking, and I try to get really like, you know, tough about stuff. So like I've been sending my husband links to these, this company that makes breast milk jewelry, and it's so pretty. I mean, it's so pretty, you guys. I'm gonna put a link down below because it's just so pretty. Just go appreciate it. It's really nice. So you have to send them some of your breast milk. And I was like, that's fine. I have some of the deep freeze that it's like expired anyway. And the freezer went out. And so my husband just moved it out to the backyard and didn't like check for, you know, like, because the breast milk was good. Like the freezer had frozen over, so there was a lot of ice built up. And you can see where this was going. So like I lost like the little bit of breast milk that I still had that I could send in for the ring that I wanted. All right, so I was like, that's fine. I'll just like pump some more or hand express some more. And like I realized I was completely dried up, which I wasn't surprised, but I was like devastated by it because I just wanted this one like room. And of course, but I was very like, oh no, I didn't even want a ring anyway. Like that's the dumbest thing ever, you know, like that's who does that? I mean, obviously lots of people do it and I wanted to do it, but I can't do it. Just like I can't have more babies. So there we go. There's something else I can't do, you know? And then of course, prior to that, like I'd wanted to have a 4th baby so bad. And I thought we couldn't, but I wanted to have one because I had brought my 3rd kid's placenta home. I was gonna have that encapsulated. And then the freezer went out. We have a bad run with deep freezes. And so obviously ruined the placenta. Then I didn't even get to keep the one with the 4th kid anyway. So there you go. But so the day that I called to make the appointment, I have to, so because I haven't been seeing this calendar year for insurance purposes, I had to make an appointment to go talk to my gynecologist just to go over everything. Fine, whatever, I like her well enough anyway, and it's an excuse to go get Greek food, so it's fine. So I go to get, I make the appointment, and it's fine, you know, it's fine. You know, I have this condition, and my body doesn't like being pregnant, and it's hard, so fine. We'll just shut it down. And apparently that's the right thing to do, right? Because I have 4 kids, and it's a lot of kids, and I shouldn't have more kids, and I should have, you know, stopped, whatever. So that night I was like, okay, you know, we have kids and like all kinds of activities. So obviously you've seen me guys, you guys have seen me do videos, you know, from my van while I'm waiting for kids to get out of various activities. And so a kid had an activity and I went to go pick them up. I was like, I'm just gonna go by myself because I just want to sit and be by myself. So I did. And because, you know, what else do you do when you're sitting in a parking lot waiting for a kid? You scroll through, you know, social media, right? You check your email, you check your Instagram. So, you know, I pulled up my Instagram and I did the search, and it pulls up, like, you know, things you may be interested in or whatever. And I saw this picture and I was just like, that's weird. Like, I was intrigued. Not a bad thing. I was very curious. And so I clicked on it. And I'm not gonna mention the Instagram person that it is. Very sizable following. I mean, especially compared to me. She's got tons more than me. Don't need to name names, but I was like, oh, fuck this bitch. I was pissed. I hate her. I was like, oh, I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. I hate her. And I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to mention who it was, because obviously I will get to, you know, I don't know her personally. I don't know her in real life. I've never met her. So, you know, I don't know how, I mean, everything, she could be totally transparent and super authentic, or it could be what so many people fall into, where it's just the pretty stuff, the good stuff, you know. I mean, you can engineer the fuck out of yourself on social media. So it could be real, it could be fake, it could be somewhere in the middle, who knows. Whatever, that's not the point. I mean, I would like to believe that it's completely transparent, authentic, and absolutely 100% real. That's part of why it pissed me off so bad, is the thought in my head of, what if it is real? Like, this bitch has my life. Not my life, not the life I live. The life that I pictured that I was gonna have. You know, lots of kids. You know, homeschooling. Well, there's a couple of them, actually. There were 2 of them, and it was just lots of kids, both of them, lots of kids, homeschooling, breastfeeding, you know, like unmedicated births, like, because they could just handle that shit. I just lost it, you guys. Like, I mean, oh my God. Like, I mean, I had to dry that shit up fast because I had a kid coming out to the van. But oh my God. I was like, you bitches. How the fuck did you get my life? Like, how did you get that life? You know? And everyone seems so, like, they're like, no, move on, embrace it. It's great, you know? You're done. You're done having kids. You know, next time it'll be grandkids, and, like, you're just done. So embrace it. It's time for the next phase. Move on. I'm like, ugh. I don't want to move on. I want my babies. I want my breast milk ring, and I want my placenta, and, you know, I want all these things. And that's the part of it, is that, but I can't have more biological kids. I mean, I could use a surrogate. I could have more biological kids. They wouldn't be my husband's biological kids. I couldn't, you know, trying to figure out how to breastfeed when I've been dried up for so long and can't use hormones to induce lactation. I'm done with that part of it, and especially, you know, I carried my last 2 overdue. And something about hitting your due date, like, I just, all of a sudden, when I got to my due date, I felt so, like, there are not enough words to describe the, like, peace, because I knew at that point, I got there and I was so stressed out about it, about the when and the how and the why. It was exhausting. But, like, getting to that point, all of a sudden it was calm, because I knew no matter what, within a couple of weeks it was going to be over. And it was okay. Like, at that point, it was just, I don't know, I can't even describe it. It was really amazing. And, you know, there's just a lot that goes into it. But so to know that I have to be done, it's not really up to me. It's just kind of the way things have to be. And then to see these women with like their, you know, great uteruses that are made for that shit, and they can actually handle all their kids. I mean, I don't even try to pretend to have it all together. I don't. And I don't do a very good job of it. They do. They have way more kids than me. They have all the kids I thought I'd have. You know, they probably still have breast milk in their freezer for a ring. And I don't, and like I can't, so, you know, it's just frustrating. But yeah, so I was like, oh, I hate him, obviously. And that's why I'm not mentioning the name, because I don't want people to just kind of see that and run off with it without watching the video. Obviously I don't hate them, I don't know them in real life, but I'm incredibly jealous of them. I'm super just angry and bitter and envious, and, you know, like, part of me really hopes they're total bitches so I could really be mad about it, but I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they're lovely, which would just make me feel even worse. So yeah, and I've only got, you know, I go to the doctor soon to see if I can get my surgery scheduled for when I want it, and if I can, it's gonna be really soon. So that's it. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. You know, I have a cardiologist, and they're really great, but the day I called to start trying to move the process forward, I started having like super bad palpitations, like out of nowhere. So I freaked out and called my cardiologist, and he was just like, I mean, they did an EKG in the office, they did everything, and he was just like, you're fine, like, you're fine. So just this whole process, and then you know, my 6-year-old being sick and everything, it's just been like, the stress is, it's amazing. That's a word for it. It's amazing. It's something. So there you go, that's where I'm at. So I hope you guys are doing much better with things than I'm dealing with everything right now. That's part of why I'm here so much, making so many videos, because it's just kind of my outlet at this point, because I really have nobody to talk to about it, so I'm gonna talk to you. So there it is. So on that note, I'm gonna go. You know, just comment something, whatever. I'm gonna, you know, whatever. Say hi, let me know what you're dealing with, you know, maybe we can all support each other. Give me a thumbs up, you know. If you like sad stuff, whatever. It's next one won't be so sad, I promise. I like to, you know, I like to mix it up. Won't torment you guys 2 videos in a row. Thumbs up, subscribe, and click the notification button so you will know when I release another video, which will be soon. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.